the best. Welcome to Lichtenburg, capital of Northwest Province, a town steeped in history and the scene of the final round of the South African National Off-Road Championship, the Quick Fit Spares and Spanners Lichtenburg 400. The event had taken on much more importance than originally anticipated, with the cancellation of the Roof of Africa, which would have decided the titles in many categories due to the instability in Lesotho. For the organizers of the event, this meant a special challenge. Here's clerk of the course, Adri Roots.
We're in Lichtenburg here for the final round of the National Championship since the Roof of Africa has been cancelled. And it's the first national event in Lichtenburg area. And we're going to run this event, as everybody says, in Western Transvaal, now Western Transvaal. And from Lichtenburg, we're actually going to race up towards Mariku. And we're going to go to the Swartliggens way towards Costa and then back into Lichtenburg. It's about 230 kilometers a loop.
Things were pretty tight on top of the leaderboard in the special vehicle category. And Reineke and Houghton couldn't rest easy in the production vehicle category either. It was even tighter between De Villiers and Van der Merwe in the quads, while Milton, Van Niekerk, Voliter and Farmer were all in with a chance in the 200s. In the 250 motorbike class, any of the top four could still become champion, while Alfie Cox was seemingly on his way to his umpteenth title in the open category. First away were championship leaders Greg Harvey and Boyce Stone in their Queen's Motor Spares race go.
We're very tense, obviously, and you know, our strategy is it's between myself and Richard Carolan. So, you know, we're not really here to race the pack of the pack of the field. So we rather it's a race between myself and Richard Carolan.
We're starting first, so it's pressure's going to be on Greg and I know we just got to go out there and give it our best shot. And just hope the rain doesn't come down too hard and make things awkward for us out there. Just hope the marking's up to a good standard as well.
Production vehicle championship leaders R.P. Reineke and Robin Houghton knew what they had to do.
We're leading at the moment, but we have to finish this race to win the championships this year.
The last race was a bit disappointing for us. We had some technical problems which really shouldn't have happened, so we've been quite stringent in our preparation. We've rebuilt most of our transmission. So we're pretty confident. The weather, I think, will suit us. If it rains a bit, there's not going to be much dust, so we're quite looking forward to it.
Cliff Barker and Heinrich Lateghan were first-time winners in the previous race. We asked veteran Richard Carolan what he expected from the course.
We haven't ridden out this way for a long time, so I don't really know. I'm just a bit worried about the marking being a single-seater. The marking never was really good out in the Mafeking, so that's going to be the factor. If the marking's good, then I can go out and race. If we have poor marking, I'm at obviously a distinct disadvantage.
Husband and wife team Tony and Mandy Yeo had made a mark this season, including an overall and class win in July, and knew that they had to put pressure on championship leaders Reineke and Houghton.
Well, I'm a bit nervous about it. We're only a couple of points behind the works manufacturers team of Toyota and Oppie. So the big story is we've got to try and stay with Oppie and see if we can just stay in there and hopefully, and then of course not only that, we've got Andrew Birkin in their Toyota. And the last thing we want to do is have Toyota beat the Land Rover this time.
When I met Tony, 3 weeks later we were at a race. I used to service when he raced with Colin and Frankenberg, and well, carrying fuel and all sorts of things around. After 4 years I said to him, I've had enough, I want to be in the car now, and here we are.
The cars were set off 30 seconds apart, with father and son team Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. being followed by Nick Harper and Andrew Chalupski in their race go. Barker and Lateghan in their Pennzoil Land Rover, and Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak in their Vodacom Pajero. They won the Barbaspan 500 this year, but have slumped since then.
It looks like it might be a bit damp, which will obviously suit our car being 4x4 and with a windscreen, so we're really looking forward to it. We've never been here before, we don't know what Lichtenburg's like, but I think it'll be very similar to Barbaspan and possibly the old Mafeking race, so we're really looking forward to it.
We work together as a team, obviously do the route schedule, tell them where to go, what's coming up, any cautions,
And then, of course, just keep them company in the car.
Colin and Derek Frankenberg have only been able to bring their TSW Range Rover to the finish line and in the points 3 times out of 6 so far this season, and were keen to improve on their 9th position in the production vehicle category. They agreed to give us a lift as they negotiated the slippery conditions at the start of the first 200-kilometer loop. And this shows just how easy it is to miscalculate your braking distance. R.P. Reinecke and Robin Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser had 3 victories and 2 third placings out of the 6 events behind their names, but couldn't finish the previous race, the Caledon 400. It's early days yet, but the engine sounded just fine. The starting order was determined by seeding the drivers according to the championship positions and results. So Caledon winner Nardus Alberts, this time partnered by Peter Mathieu, were right up there in the top 10, chased by Rob Walk. Maurice Borain in his Mighty Mag had won the Sugarbelt 400 in May and was in a mood to repeat that feat, while the Chepex in the V-Motors Epson Racing Raceco were also putting the hammer down, trying to get away from Harper and Chalupsky in their Raceco. The Quickfit Spares and Spanners Lichtenburg 400 was the first event of the year for Stanley Illman and Franz Stangl, who were preparing their Raceco for the Roof of Africa but were forced to come to this event instead. Back in car with the Frankenbergs, who were finding it somewhat difficult to keep their TSW Range Rover on course. Cassie Coetzee and Piet Swanepoel had been having a difficult season in the new Castrol Toyota Hilux double cab, only finishing and scoring in the Bell Trans-Tonga Land in July. But Woolridge and Vermaak were not having any teething problems with their Vodacom Pajero. Class E leaders Andrew and Chris Birkin in their Toyota Hilux have had a good season, lying 3rd overall in the production vehicle category after 3 class wins and a 3rd. Tony and Mandy Yo in their Sabat Land Rover were suffering from their first of many punctures and elected to carry on, knowing that the terrain would get rougher and saving their spares for later. Colin Frankenberg was up to his usual antics in an effort to stay ahead of the Raconics of Johan Gerber and Coetzee Labiskagni. In off-road racing, the opportunity to pass a car ahead of you doesn't appear very often. While the cars were on their way, tackling the first of the 2 200-kilometer loops, it was time for the quads to start their race, and first on his way was Paris-Dakar hero Vickers van Deventer on his Gulwar Blonde Yamaha.
The weather suits me, that's my place here in the hometown. I hope I will do good, I will give my best. We'll see what will happen at the end of the day.
Joburg Yamaha rider and defending 200cc class champion Christophe van der Merwe was next, with the quads sent off in 15-second intervals. Next up, Mark Breckel of Team Brasco FMF Racing on another Yamaha. Conditions were starting to deteriorate as the rain started coming down. Jan Steenkamp on his Yamaha was determined not to get too wet. Championship leader Cornel de Villiers on his Yamaha had only one thing in mind: beat Van der Merwe. John Craig Costello was on another Yamaha, also riding under the Joburg Yamaha banner. Van Deventer, commonly regarded as the best quad racer in the world after becoming the first to finish the grueling Paris-Dakar rally in January this year, had won 2 races in a row earlier this season, but had missed out on 2 more because of overseas commitments. He was 6th in the championship. Christophe van der Merwe was in a determined mood, not willing to give his title away without a fight, and he was going flat out from the beginning. Louis Boshoff on his Polaris had not had a good season and was in 12th after finishing and scoring in only 2 out of the 6 events so far. Although de Villiers was leading Van der Merwe in the championship, it was so close that the one who beat the other would be crowned champion. The route took the competitors in a northerly direction, crossing the Marico River a number of times, which caused some serious hassles to some of them. Leon van Eden was taking it very easy. While the spectators could relax and enjoy themselves, it was hard work for competitors who needed to concentrate hard not to tip over or get a puncture. To ride these quads effectively, one needs to constantly shift the center of gravity using your body weight and remembering that the golden rule is never to put your foot down in motocross style. Riding a quad is a combination of riding a bike and driving a car. Costello was getting it exactly right. Rodney Bade was going steady on his Yamaha, but there were problems for Corey Smith and his Banshee.
Tell me, why'd you stop? A puncher. Front left wheel puncher. I'm on my way again.
Now it was the turn of the bikes to get on their way. Still raining and also with 15 seconds in between the riders, first in line was 250 championship leader Darryl Curtis on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM. He knew that a mistake could cost him his championship.
Starting first, it's always difficult because you have to set the pace, and you can get lost and stuck in mud and things like that. So I've just got to keep my head together and keep a good pace and hope everything goes well.
200 category championship leader Quinton Milton had a very narrow points lead to defend.
Oh, it's a little bit wet out there. Don't enjoy the rain, but I think I can pull it through today. Feeling good, feeling strong. Got a two-point lead on Rion, so I think I can do it.
Carl Leroux is a local boy and was determined to show the lads a thing or two in the open category. That's for bikes larger than 250cc. It's a hotly contested class, behind championship leader Alfie Cox, that is. Another South African hero of this year's Paris-Dakar rally. Cox was leading the title chase by a country mile.
This is the last race now of the year, and everybody is worried about the championship, and today is a big thing for each guy to finish and get his points in the right place.
Second in the championship, Graham McLaughlin had just come off a victory in the Caledon 400, riding his Lesotho Office Equipment Honda, but he would be forced to withdraw early in the race after breaking his handlebars in a fall. The 15 seconds starting gap isn't much to defend, and soon Cox on his Gouloir Blonde KTM was hauling in those in front of him. He had already passed Clayton Enslin on his Elner Fox FMF Racing Kawasaki and Curtis on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM. Clayton had also passed Curtis and was going as hard as it could. Errol Dalton on his Connex Shell Racing Team Honda was lying 6th in the championship, despite a victory in both the Barbaspan 500 and the Toyota 1000 Desert Race earlier in the season. Rian van der Kerk on his AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM was also going flat out, knowing that he had to catch and pass Milton as soon as possible.
Watch him there, he's going to pick it up.
Jeffrey Voliter, also on an AGA Panasonic Castrol KTM, was also in the title chase in the 200 class, with only 6 points separating him from Milton and only 3 from van der Kerk. Grant Bloomfield tackled America with gusto on his Connex Shell Racing Honda, as did Quinton Milton, who was pushing as hard as he could to stay ahead of the storming Rian van der Kerk. While the front runners made it all look so easy, some of the back markers were struggling. This is Wayne van Kuiper on his Kawasaki making his way around Pine Pinar and his fallen Honda, who did get going before the rest of the traffic started arriving. The Blue Circle racetrack just outside Lichtenburg was doubling up as the start-finish point of the 200-kilometer-long circular course, and some 3 hours into the race, the leaders started to arrive at their pits. Reineke and Houghton were first on the road, but not necessarily leading, as they had missed the control point at a public road where the competitors had to slow down. This wasn't a disqualifiable transgression and would be corrected later. Just a routine pit stop and no time lost for the championship leaders. The leader at this stage in the special vehicle category was Marius Borain in his Mighty Mag. He was quite pleased.